Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on whether you are listening to us live, direct, straight after the game, or whether you're listening to us via your podcast channels, and you can obviously get those. All that malarkey. Hopefully you can hear us, and hopefully I'm coming through okay, although I have admitted to the guys that my Wi-Fi can be a bit patchy at times. So fingers crossed it goes well, but thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for joining us today for the latest Gunners Town podcast pub. And we've just won a football match. We beat Sheffield United 3-0 at Brammall Lane. Happy days. And joining me today is a couple of lovely, likely lads. It's Merv Dillon. How you doing, Merv? You all right?
I'm doing fine. Nice and relaxed after that. Nice Sunday evening.
Nice Sunday. Yeah, exactly. If only all games could be like that, eh?
Yep.
Exactly. And we've also got Mike McDonald. Mike, joining us from the States. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in sunny Tennessee. So, and a beautiful watch. That was nice. I didn't know it was coming, but we're Arsenal fans, so we don't know, do we? But I'm happy.
Sorry about that. That was me. That was my fault. Tethering. The joys of Wi-Fi these days. But as I said to the lads just before we went off there, sometimes you just need to go on your own fold. But thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you have enjoyed what has transpired. And let's get the niceties out of the way. What are we drinking? So, lads, just before you start, I'm doing what's known as an Uxbridge chaser here in West London. And the Uxbridge chaser is exclusive to Arsenal fans. And that is a pint of rum and cola, as well as a nice little cheeky Kronenberg as well. And the reason why Arsenal fans need that is because, let's face it, we need drink in these day and age because we do not make it difficult for ourselves normally. However, tonight we didn't make it difficult for ourselves. But we'll get onto that in a second. Merv, what are you drinking?
Yes. Thank you, Chris. I'm drinking something called Eternal Sunshine, which is a craft collaboration between Northern Monk, who are a Yorkshire brewery, and Fieldwork, who are a US brewery, I think California. And it's a double dry hopped IPA, 5.5%, very nice and drinkable.
I'm not sure, Merv, if there's such a thing as being able to be a Ponzi beer drinker, but I think if it was,
I'm one of them. Yes,
would be you. You would absolutely. You'd be the hipster beer drinker.
Yeah.
Mike, how are you doing? What are you drinking? This is the bit where Mike, the pure soul that he is, tells us about the purity of the filtered water that he's drinking right now. Go on, Mike.
Here's the thing, Chris. This filtered water is brought to you by Walmart, which is brought to you by Stan Kroenke, which means that in my warped mind, I'm contributing to Gabriel Martinelli's wages by purchasing this water. And therefore, I feel like I'm sort of responsible for the second goal tonight.
Do you know what? I absolutely love that, mate. That is beautiful. Beautiful. Or perhaps, hopefully, you're contributing towards Stan Kroenke's fingers crossed decision making, which is around getting Martin Ødegaard to Arsenal. But again, that's for another podcast. That's for another day. Today, we're talking about Sheffield United. Let's talk, and I'll start with you, Merv.
Yeah.
Thoughts on lineup and pre-game. What's your general thinking? And do you know what? In fact, let's go a little bit different. What were you doing an hour before kickoff? Like, were you doing anything interesting, or were you just sitting down on your phone, basically scrolling through, furiously waiting to be enraged by whatever the lineup was?
Well, I was scrolling through my phone, waiting to see the lineup. I wasn't expecting to be enraged, and I think kind of I wasn't sure about the left back. I think I expected Saka to play left back, so that was a surprise. And I didn't, when I saw the team, I didn't appreciate Granit Xhaka was going to play there. I was pleased Martinelli was playing. It was kind of what I expected. I was a bit concerned Bukayo Saka because with Ødegaard, Emil Smith-Rowe currently not fit, might not be ready for Thursday. I was a bit concerned about overplaying him tonight. I thought it was a game we possibly could have left him out. But other than that, no, I felt quite relaxed. I thought, if everything clicked, having a party with Danny in the middle, I thought it would work. And I was just quite relaxed about it.
Yeah, you were quite relaxed. I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was a bit serene too. And I tell you what, if you're in the comments, if you're on Facebook and if you're on Twitter via Periscope, or if you're even listening to us next day, message us and tell us what you're drinking, or tell us what you're drunk. If you're listening to this next day, tell us what you're drunk. And if it was a little bit too much because you're a little bit too excited because Arsenal actually kept a clean sheet, that's okay. Now, we are allowed to be a little bit excited, even though it was Sheffield United who, even though terrible. And Mike, talk to me about your thoughts. I guess let's move on from the lineup. Talk to me about the first sort of exchanges. Were you happy? What's your general thoughts going into this game? Were you just a bit like meh? And how did the first sort of 15 minutes, half an hour, just a free hit for you on just talking through your general thoughts as our resident coaching chief?
Sure. Free hit's a good word because I felt this was somewhat of a free hit for Arsenal. They've got a lot of players out injured. There was encouragement to get Martinelli in the lineup, which he did. I was excited to see Saka at left back, so I thought that was a good idea. And then he wasn't at left back, and then he was at attacking mid. But Saka doesn't matter because wherever you play him, he plays very well, doesn't he? So that was exciting. I was a little perturbed that we didn't see Gabriel Mari. That's the only combination we haven't seen, and I think that's Arsenal's best combination, even though they're both left-footed. But that was okay. Ceballos and Lacazette made me nervous, but so then going on to the game itself, and this is what I was telling you guys before we came on air, is that Arsenal are just utterly confusing, aren't they, to support? And they have been for a lot of my life, but more so this season than ever, because you absolutely don't know what you're going to get. Last week, everybody, not just me, was ready to completely get rid of the thought of having Danny Ceballos even as a squad player. And then today happened, and he was busy the whole game, and he was influential, and he looked like a really good footballer. And Lacazette was gone in my mind a long time ago, and he drives me insane because then he'll do this and he'll do this again in 3 weeks. We know it, right? He won't do it probably on Thursday, but we'll get another one of these in 3 weeks and think he looks just like the centre forward we need. So the whole thing just confuses me. I just have to try and decompress after watching Arsenal because I just feel like it's not what I ever expect. I either get too hyped and we're awful, or I think that this is just falling down a hill, and then it looks like we are a top 4 contender, which that first half made me dream of again. So I don't know, man. My head's just spinning watching Arsenal.
Yeah. So again, I'll stay with you then, Mike. Like, let's go macro. Take the game as a whole. What was your highlight? If you could just pick. So it's a bit difficult because we're still in the football's an interesting game because it's always about emotions. It's always about in the now. And I don't know about you, but whenever I listen or watch or read stuff the next day, or even when I write my blog the next day or the day after that, there's always a bit of calm that's settled amongst me, and I can get a little bit more introspective. But finding a highlight from today I find it interesting because it feels like there's almost like a caveat in there because it's Sheffield United. They've lost 24, now 25 games this season. They aren't good. They're a championship side. But is there a particular bit that you personally can pick out? I guess from a tactical point of view would be ideal. Yeah. You would say, this was grand.
Okay, 2 things I will pick out. One was the tempo of the first half. I think Arteta's best quality that he's brought on the field tactically is the ability for Arsenal to understand that they need to play the full length and especially width of the pitch. So Arsenal players normally receive the ball in a lot of space and have a little bit of time. Because of that, too many of them take too much time because they have time. But that first half, they played with tempo, and we moved the ball 1 and 2 touch. And then that first goal was a goal of the season contender for Arsenal Football Club, not for the Premier League. But that was the Arsenal that we know and love and that we're capable of. And for some reason, we decided to play that today. And, you're talking about Sheffield United being a weaker team, and that's true. I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of difference, because if you can play one-touch football played with tempo, then it doesn't matter. Any team in the world is going to struggle if you have good players playing that way. So that was the biggest highlight. And then the second one for me is the deception. I'm a firm believer that in this world we live in of football being a coach's game now, not a player's game, and so much, so many passing patterns and predictability about watching any game of football. They're very predictable these days. I feel like football has to evolve to a place where it offers more deception in order to score, because the repetition just instinctively tells the defensive unit that they know what's coming, and it's easy to intercept because everybody's doing the same things. So, for example, Danny Ceballos' little Cruyff flick to Lacazette for the first goal was what I'm talking about. That fooled the entire defensive unit, and then Thomas Partey's turn in midfield on the third goal fooled the midfield, and therefore they weren't ready for the through ball. So that, for me, were the two coaching moments that I saw that made the biggest single differences in the game.
Yeah. Do you know the goal itself was one of those goals that when I watched it and then when I saw the replay, I was like, it was the classic, why can't we just do this every game? Please, for the love of God, Muhammad, Allah, whoever you pray to, the footballing gods of karma, why do we not just deliver this kind of football on a consistent basis? And that is Arsenal. That is literally why we sit 11th in the table, because we are just as capable of a Liverpool appalling performance and the other side of it, which is that kind of build-up. And Danny Ceballos, do you know what? There's a few players here, which I'm going to put my hands up here, and Mr. Hepker, Invinciblog, who is obviously of this parish, he has, as we can see in the chat, given me a bit of a shout out talking about Lacazette, because I am not Lacazette's biggest fan. I do not think he is an elite, amazing hold-up player, but he had a decent game today. I will say that. I still think that he had moments which frustrated me today, but he played his part. He opened his body up nicely for that goal. It was good technique, and he was involved even in the build-up in his own goal just before that. So, from my perspective, it was a really worked goal, and it just makes the games like the Slavia Prague game and his absolute weird spooning up onto the crossbar when he was through on goal even weirder. But Merv, I'm going to move on. So I want you to pick. I'm going to make it as difficult for you, because when you've won 3-0, you've got opportunities to pick out a number of individuals, but I want you to pick one highlight individual for the game, and one particular moment and one particular individual that just off the top of your head, just you can just think of straight away. So who is it and what is that moment?
I suppose impossible to think of one moment, but what I liked, and I'm looking, so I make notes during the game. So if you keep see me look down, it's because I've got notes here. I like Martinelli back in space, running. He never stops. He's always trying to chase down. He's always trying to run. He's always trying to show for stuff. I love doing that. I love seeing him. And I think that Thomas Partey, I think, again, we've got to look at the opposition, but he looked a much more like a one-man midfield almost, winning it, the transitioning it, the pass for the third goal. I mean, the first and third goals, to me, could have been scored by the Invincibles. They were those kind of goals. And so I think that, for me, it was great to see Martinelli out there. Fit, we did have a moment where we thought he maybe got injured again, but please God, he didn't. I think that was the big thing for me, because there's a fluidity that he brings to that side. And seeing Lacazette, you just mentioned him, and Paul had mentioned him in the comments. And there's this thing that Lacazette's last 6 goals have been scored when Aubameyang isn't in the team, and I think there is an issue. I think Aubameyang needs to be in the middle. I think Lacazette needs to be in the middle, and I don't know that they can both be shoehorned into the same team. And I think tonight kind of underlined that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I agree. Do you know what? I agree with you. In fact, I was about to sort of pause and say to myself, "Oh, is there a sort of devil's advocate?" But I can't really find it. I cannot see how Aubameyang and Lacazette works. We had last season where it worked at times, where Aubameyang was on the left and Lacazette through the middle. But I'm sure, Mike, probably as you testified, that was in a totally different system. Like, we've essentially changed our system this season, and so in my mind, it's like, if we've changed our system, fine, and then if this hasn't worked, then fine. But just touch on where do you stand on Lacazette, Mike? Like, what's your perspective on Lacazette in terms of his performance tonight, what he did right, what he might have done wrong, or maybe he didn't do anything wrong this season, and also, if you can, just touch on this Aubameyang flu, because I mean, is that, in your opinion, is that just a bit of a Arsene Wenger? Yeah, Almunia's got a toe injury, so that's why we're not playing him today. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he's just spooned one into his own net.
Sure. If Aubameyang has flu, he's the only person in Great Britain that has it, apparently, because nobody else has it. So we better quarantine him for a couple of months to make sure nobody else gets the common flu. So that Arsenal, I don't know if they've just chosen the wrong illness on this occasion. I know we've been doing this for years, choosing illnesses for Mesut Ozil and such. Or if they're just trying to make embarrass him slightly by choosing the flu intentionally. I don't know. I do think he's gone in the summer. I do think Arsenal will attempt to get rid of him. I think that if this is
sorry, Mike. Can I just stop you for a sec? Do you think Aubameyang's gone in the summer?
Yeah.
Really? Do you think this is like something sort of catastrophic has happened in the last few weeks that has got a ripple effect that effectively will just see him move on?
Yeah.
And why?
Because if this is the first year of his 3-year contract and he's been average at best, then that's not good enough for the amount of wages. And so why do what we did with Mesut Ozil and wait? Let's try to get rid of him. And I think we might find that Arsenal might even try to get rid of him for free, because clubs won't be able to afford a fee and his wages. But yeah, and I also think that the captaincy thing is an issue. I can't see that Arsenal are going to start next season with Aubameyang as captain, so there's going to be another problem with it. I think he's a very sensitive guy, and I don't think he's going to take that well. His performances haven't led to him being a justified starter. He's holding back Martinelli. There's the Balogun situation who's got to come into the mix. He's signed a contract. So I think he's gone. On to Lacazette. I would sell Lacazette because he's got some value, but more I would sell Lacazette because he has no movement. And I don't see actually, the people are complaining about this version of Lacazette, the attacking midfielder, central midfielder. And I think against Slavia Prague, he was actually a centre-back at one point. I actually prefer this version because Lacazette in the box is, to me, one of the most frustrating strikers I have ever seen in all of my football watching life, because he has no desire to lose his marker. He goes and stands next to a centre-back and has no movement. And so I just don't think he's a centre-forward. And you see today, he actually excels at whether you call it linking play or just building play. I don't know. He was a drifter. It was like he was given complete freedom to go find wherever the space was and don't worry about playing forward. I think Arteta's given up on him in the box. And that's crazy because he scored 2 goals. I get that. But if you watch when Arsenal have the ball and players in the box waiting, he stands next to a defender. And I've been over that for so long, and his lack of movement. I was waiting because Arteta keeps improving players individually, I was waiting for Arteta to work with him on his movement and teach him how to make one run for the defender and one run into space. And then I watched players like Cavani today, who was the guy I wanted at Arsenal. I thought we should have got Cavani before United, just so that he could have been here for a couple of years, and then Nketiah and Balogun could have taken over, because Cavani has the best movement, I think, of any striker in world football, and hence his stellar career. But anyway, so that's enough from me. But Lacazette and Aubameyang, I'd sell them both. And I think with Martinelli and Balogun, we have to play them for the rest of the season. Otherwise, we don't know. We might have to have a 50 million starting striker on our books ready to go next season, and then we waste money buying one when we need to get other areas of the team built up. So we have to do that now.
Yeah. So I don't know whether or not I want to almost retrospectively, based on what you've just said, Mike, just almost highlight that as your low light, if that makes sense, the whole Lacazette situation. But I feel like it's a low light that both you and I are. It's almost like hive mind here. If anyone's listening in, apologies for the hive mind here, because basically I feel like I'm going to repeat what Mike's just said, but just maybe in different words, because I feel exactly the same with Lacazette. Like, there is not an Arsenal player that puts on the shirt that I don't want to succeed, score goals, win tackles, get down the line, win the ball, be brilliant. There isn't an Arsenal player that I want, and there isn't an Arsenal player that when I start to get grumpy about, and if anyone followed me on Twitter, then you'll see my hashtag Willian watch tonight, which was a little bit sort of tongue in cheek, but actually there's a reality behind it, because it showed it. I just focused purely on Willian, and he did nothing. But I am in a position where I look at Lacazette and just think, you're not the player that we want. You don't make the movement that we want. And funny, you just said that. I was going to say, just before you mentioned it, I was going to say exactly the same thing. I watched Cavani at Tottenham tonight and saw him make the darting runs, etc. And do you know what? People are probably watching this, listening to this, going to get grumpy with me, but Olivier Giroud made darting runs. Now, Olivier Giroud missed chances left, right, and centre, but he still made those darting runs. He doesn't have pace, but he has movement at times in the box. And I genuinely am now coming to the realization that we downgraded with going from Giroud to Lacazette, and a few people have picked me up on that. But whatever, we'll move on for that. Let's focus on today, and let's focus on right now. So, can we talk a little bit, Merv, about the wide forward positions? Because there's a couple of bits that you can go in any direction if you want. But I thought that Steve McManaman made a few comments about, Pepe hasn't been great tonight, but I thought Pepe was actually very good. I thought he was incisive. And the thing about Pepe, for me, is that he will get 10 chances, and 5 of them will drive you nuts because he won't even be able to control the ball. But 5 of them will be incisive. And if I have someone like Willian who gets 10 touches and completes a pass on each one of them, or Pepe who gets 10 touches and completes a pass on 5 of them, but they are incisive passes, I want that. So you don't have to go just on Pepe here, but can you just talk to me about how you thought we performed from the wide forward positions? So we had Pepe on the right hand side, and actually maybe this is an opportunity for you to talk about Pepe, but also to talk about Martinelli on the left, who I thought showed us that we don't need to see any more of Willian for the rest of the season.
We will see Willian, I'm sure, but you're right, we don't need to. Martinelli, I thought, was great. 100% player, constantly alert, constantly looking, constantly, not getting in the faces of defenders, but constantly stretching defenders. They don't know where he's going. Always alert for a pass. Never kind of shrugs. If it's overhit, he'll chase it. The energy that emanates from him is excellent. It's 100%. Pepe, I will be honest, I was disappointed with tonight. I mean, I'm not sure. I can't say he did anything really badly, and obviously had a part to play with the second goal. But his first touch, he seems very, when he gets the ball, it's kind of the first touch isn't clean. It's kind of he kind of tracks back. He turns back. He doesn't always. I don't know. I don't find him sharp, and that's just me.
Merv, sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Merv, sorry to interrupt. Wouldn't you rather have somebody, and this is almost the Alexis Sanchez question, wouldn't you rather have someone like that, though, than, again, I don't want to make this about Willian, just make this about hypothetical player X, though. Wouldn't you rather have somebody that makes those mistakes, but then also gets into positions and gets shots away, like he did for the Martinelli goal, where, he's put the ball into a good space, keeper's made a save, he's parried it out. I mean, maybe there's a question mark about whether Ramsdale could have been better with that, but Martinelli's ultimately there to tap it in. Would you not rather have that than, again, I'm using Willian because he's just front and centre of my mind.
Well, I'd rather see him than Willian. But I think Arsenal can upgrade. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do that because of the investment they've made in him. I mean, I go back to when we signed him, and I looked at all the YouTube highlights, and he played for a counter-attacking team, and quite often he was the out ball. He was the ball, Leon was soaking it up, and he was the out ball. And I could see him playing like that. But in the Premier League, Arsenal don't. Arsenal are a possession team, and we those kind of opportunities, the ones that made him look a bargain at 70 million, if you like, he doesn't really get. He has to fit in a very different kind of framework, I think, and that's when his kind of first touch sometimes lets him down, or it's almost not lackadaisical, but Martinelli, the moment he touches it, he's either going to run with it, he's going to cut inside, he's going to do something. Saka is the same. And I think with Pepe, sometimes it's almost like there's that split second where it's almost like he has to think about what to do with it. It's not instinctive. Now, that might just be, I can't play at that level. But to me, that's how it looks. And it is a concern because we've made a significant investment in him. And, if they were to move him on for some reason, they're going to have to take a hit. But there must be a way that we can bring him in and we can use his strengths. But I don't know to what extent we found it yet. It's all a bit fits and starts. There are some games he plays, he played really well in the second half against West Ham, and you think, that's what he can do for us. And then there are other games where you think, what did he do?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, Pepe's a real conundrum, and Paul, again, from our parish, is making some comments about how I have views on Pepe and Lacazette so differently. I think it's probably because you see flashes of brilliance from Pepe that I can see the technique and the ability in the player. And yet I see he gets a lot less game time than Lacazette, who I see games like today and I think if you could be that consistent, then absolutely, I'd have very different words from you. If you could be that consistent against West Ham, it'd be different. But I've seen the games against Tottenham. He scored a penalty against Tottenham. Well done, lads. But Lacazette, I tell you what, I'm thinking about Lacazette. He puts away a penalty. He was absolutely turgid during that game. On the Liverpool game, anonymous, although 70% of the team were anonymous. But we see too much of that from our supposed £52 million elite striker. But I don't want to make this about Lacazette. I want to move on. Mike, I'm going to bring you in. I want to talk about Saka a little bit, actually, because he looked decent today at times, but obviously he's come off injured. Hopefully that's not a long-term thing. What do you make of Saka's performance today, and of late, actually, in recent games? Mike, sorry, that's for you.
Sorry. Okay, I think he has been representative of Arsenal's performance as a team. So if Arsenal have been poor, he hasn't been on his game. If Arsenal have been good, he hasn't. We seem to go as Saka goes. Today, I thought he was the hub of that quicker tempo and that those quick touches and combinations on the top of the box. And so I was encouraged, and it brought me back to that West Brom away game in the snow when he was the hub of all of that as well. So I think he is a phenomenal talent, and the fact that you can put him, I don't think he's ever played in that position for Arsenal. And you tell me if I'm wrong, but if he has, it's once. So the fact that he played probably at short notice in a brand new position, and he produced that level of first half performance, and it improved the team and was a big part in the goal, I think is outstanding. And I don't understand that. Apparently, England are thinking of not taking him to the Euros. He'd be the first player I'd take because he's the most flexible player in the Premier League, and every squad has to have a player like that guy or two of them. So yeah.
I mean, on the England thing, all I would say is it would be very Gareth Southgate if he was to not take a gem with him to the Euros. But to be honest with you, I'm less fussed about England. I'm more fussed about Arsenal. And half of me is a bit like, would it have been a good idea for him not to play tonight? Or so Mike, I'm going to stay with Mike just for a second, then I'll move on to you, Merv. But seeing him, so you coach people a lot, and you're not a physiotherapist, so or a sports injury specialist. So seeing him with that sort of walk off, what was your gut feel in terms of injury? And I know this is all hypothetical, but did it worry you? Do you think we got a problem for next Thursday?
Yeah, it worried me that he was playing the game to start with. But of course, this is the side of things that we don't have any insight really into. We see the games, and so we have an opinion on that. But as to whether players are fatigued or in the red zone, we have no idea really. We just have to take guesses and trust. But Arsenal this season, like with their performance on the field, haven't been particularly good at putting players in there that aren't ready. So I am concerned, and I am concerned mainly because he did so well in the first half in a spot that we need somebody to play in on Thursday, and we're running out of options. And if Ødegaard and Smith Rowe can't do it, and then he can't do it, you know what I'm going to say. It's that guy you've been hashtagging for the last hour, Chris, going to be playing there. So that's my major concern.
Yeah, that's mine as well. And it's not because my main concern is because I thought a year ago Arteta wouldn't suffer fools gladly, and if you're not succeeding and you're not delivering, then he would not pick you. But we've seen the hill that he's willing to die on. That is Willian, and I'll bring Merv in on here, mate. Merv. So we're sort of talking ahead here, and the reason why I'm talking ahead is because personally, 3-0 against Sheffield United. Delighted from a morale point of view, but ultimately I don't think that we're going to get anywhere in the Premier League, so it's just ticking us over in the Premier League. I'm more looking towards Slavia Prague, and I'm looking towards the potential of us not having Smith Rowe, not having Ødegaard. And I want you to just talk about, so the other thing, so as Mike alluded to, is it going to end up being Willian in 10, which hasn't worked, or you've got Lacazette that he's played in 10, which has been terrible. Danny Ceballos was one of the players that I sort of speculated might play in that today. So I guess my question related today, but then also related for the Slavia Prague game, if you couldn't have Ødegaard because he's injured, and you can't have Smith Rowe because he's injured, and Saka, who started that game tonight, in at 10, but apparently he's injured, how confident or happy would you be with Ceballos in at 10? Or I was going to say Willian in at 10, but I think I've led everyone down the path of Willian. So give me your general. I want your thoughts on the connector at 10, or in between the attack and the defence. Who you would prefer, and what the best option would be for the next game, Slavia Prague.
Okay, well, first, could I say that Arteta in his after-match interview, all he said on Saka was he had some discomfort in his thigh. I don't know what it is. The last thing we need is another attacking midfielder with another issue. and that was Arteta. So I am concerned that we won't be seeing Saka on Thursday. So to answer your question, I think Danny did well tonight. I have a lot of time for Danny. He's inconsistent.
Just to jump in just for 2 seconds, I'm going to carry on. Shout out to Karen Singh on Facebook, who said that Ceballos was fantastic tonight, but he lacks consistency. Karen.
Just what I was about to say.
Sorry. I'm just giving a shout out to the Facebook fans. Apologies.
No. Please do. So yeah, I mean, he did well tonight, and he's got away with him. I mean, I know sometimes he makes glaring mistakes. We've seen him give away a couple of goals, but sometimes he can do that extra touch to take the ball away from someone, and he keeps it under control. And it's the kind of thing. He's obviously been schooled very well, in Spain, and I like that. And I think, I wouldn't have a problem if we played him in that role on Thursday, on the assumption we don't have Smith Rowe, we don't have Ødegaard, we don't have Saka, rather than the man who you've been watching tonight. Your laser eyes have been following around the pitch. I don't know, I'm sure, on a number of these pods this season, we've probably all spoken about Willian at different times. And I'm catching up with an old Chelsea mate next week, and I know it's the first thing he's going to ask me. I don't want to see. I don't think they know how to get the best out of Willian, and I don't think Willian has settled at all in the squad and the team. And I think that it is quite apparent, and your Willian Watch hashtag highlighted that. It's almost like he just wants to get rid of the ball. He just he doesn't want to. He'd rather get the ball and give it to another Arsenal player than actually do something with it and lose it, or do something wrong. And it's almost like he's scared. I think, just watching him, he seems scared to actually move it forward and try and create. So he'll go wide, he'll go down towards the byline, and then he'll kind of turn back and he'll knock it back to somebody who's actually not in that greater position to use it. But it's like he's not giving it away. And that's the impression I get watching him. And for a game as important, I mean, Thursday is a season-defining game. And I know people have been pointing out that over the last few away games, if we forget the home games, we've got 3 at Leicester, 3 at West Ham, 3 at Olympiacos, 3 tonight. In the away games, we seem to be able to play better and score. I think that I wouldn't want to see him because I think he slows it down. And I don't think he shows the instinct. So Bukayo Saka has an instinct. He gets the ball, he's looking to pass it on, not make the obvious pass, not just knock it to another player who's got a defender on him. But they're always looking to find space and to play those balls in. And that's how we get a goal like the first goal tonight. And I don't see Willian playing like that. And I think he would stop us from playing like that. And I think we're going to have to do things like that on Thursday night, because we're going to have to kind of go ahead. I mean, we've got to score 2 goals. If we don't score 2, I mean, we can win the game 1-0. But I mean, to be comfortable, I think we need 2 goals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't defend. Let's be honest. We can't defend Leeds. We've shown that we can't. Our game management is poor. But sorry, Merv, I'll let you finish off before I go.
No, it's okay. So that's my concern. I don't think we have an obvious replacement in that role at number 10. If we're going to have Aubameyang and Lacazette in the team together, as I've said, I don't think it works. I think Aubameyang needs to be through the middle. Lacazette as that withdrawn, or almost like the number 10, the withdrawn striker. I think it can work. It has worked in some games. He did well at West Ham, for example. He can make things happen. It slows down. We need speed. What Martinelli gives us is speed of thought, and speed of feet, and speed of passing. Bukayo Saka gives us speed. Martin Odegaard gives us speed. Emil Smith-Rowe gives us speed. Those four youngsters give us speed and energy. And I don't see that necessarily from using Willian. I don't see it often from using Pepe, although he is fast. I don't see it when we use Lacazette in that role. And so I think that we would probably need to keep the same kind of unit tonight, and using maybe Ceballos coming forward to do things like that. And maybe we can get Partey further forward the way he was able to in the second half, I suppose, attack more. But then if Granit Xhaka presumably is going to play left back again on Thursday, then in which case, unless he brings Suarez in at left back, then I mean that takes Xhaka. I think in the away leg there, Xhaka will be important.
Yeah, I think he certainly. He will absolutely have a role to play. And we're just wrapping up for the final bits of tonight. I'm going to give Mike the final say on what we are approaching on Thursday, Mike. And I want to specifically get your views on the role of that connector. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to give your thoughts on Thursday for that role of the connector, because I know that you've talked a lot on this podcast, this Pubcast, not a thing. I think I've maybe had too many Uxbridge chasers, but this role of that connector between the midfield and the attack, which we didn't have pre-Christmas, and you talked about it. I know I've been on podcasts with you talking about it and talking about give Emil Smith-Rowe a chance because he can play that role. So on Thursday, hypothetically, if Smith-Rowe isn't available, if Odegaard isn't available, who does that? That's my worry, Mike. And I want you to just make us feel better as a coach, as a tactician, as somebody that literally talked about it before it actually happened. Who can be, or do we even have, or do we have to do something different when we get to Thursday if Smith-Rowe is not fit because of an ankle sprain, if Odegaard isn't fit? What's the solution?
Okay, well, there's lots of different things and none of them are perfect. The only thing that I would say that is perfect, I would think that because it's the most important game of the season, surely one of Smith-Rowe, Saka, or Odegaard will be given an injection or whatever kind of magic pill to play in that game. So I actually don't think it's going to be a concern because I can't imagine they're not going to try to get at least one of those guys fit to play. So if that doesn't happen, I was encouraged by Danny Ceballos' ability to connect today. He didn't take too many touches. He did in the middle third, but he always does. But in that final third, he started to move the ball with one touch and offer some deception. So I don't know that I'm comfortable with that because, again, Arsenal are the yo-yo team. So that means that what we saw today is not going to happen on Thursday, I think. So I've always been interested in seeing Pepe as an interior, as a connector, as an accelerator, I suppose. The player that I was always interested in, but we can't do it on Thursday because it's never been tried. I like players at 10 who accelerate the play. And the first thing they do is take it on their outside foot and accelerate. And then when they pass, shoot or dribble, it doesn't matter so much. But it's Reece Nelson. It's too late. That's obviously not going to happen. But Reece Nelson accelerates the play, but then Reece Nelson's biggest issue is his decision-making in the final third. But I've always wished that he was given an opportunity to iron that out through game time. But I love the fact that he accelerates the play. So I think probably the smartest thing to do is probably try Ceballos there and encourage him to do what he did today, which is in the final third, let's play with one touch. And if you're in the middle third, then please go back to the final third, quite honestly, because in the Europa League, he's gifted the other team multiple goals, I think, this season, hasn't he? So my biggest nightmare is Arsenal will change formation, because if they go and play without one, then I think we may see the pre-Christmas stuff where we had that big fat donut in the middle of the field where there was nobody, right? And nobody to connect, and then we're relying on on Lacazette, which again may be part of the yo-yo, may be good, maybe bad, I don't know. So I really feel they have to put somebody in there. But I think I'd go with Ceballos if one of the three are not fit.
Yeah. Do you know what? Again, without wanting to sound a little bit too hive-mindy, that is essentially where I'm at as well, Mike. My mind is what we need is somebody that connect. Ceballos, if he's doing one-touch football, because he could do that. Ceballos, one-touch passing is fine, but Ceballos in his natural state is Danny Ceballos wanting 3, 4, 5 touches. There was 7 times this evening, like I literally counted it in my head, where he took more than 4 touches on the ball, and he was good tonight, but it drives you insane because it slows down the game. And Danny, just keep it simple. Either get the ball and release the ball because you're a good footballer, or release the ball one touch, one time. And do you know what? People will see your quality, but we shall see. We shall see. It all depends on the fitness of some of our, as we've talked about, some of our connectors. It will all depend on the fitness of some of our connectors at Slavia, in Prague, the Czech capital. We've all got our eyes towards that now. We've got a 3-0 win against Sheffield United. We tick along mid-table in the Premier League. I think that's where we're going to end up. We're going to end up in the Premier League. We're going to end up in the mid-table. And that's sort of where I'm at. I mean, I'm a bit meh about the Premier League. It's all eyes on the Europa League. We need to get a victory against Slavia Prague. There needs to be a massive upgrade in performance compared to what we saw on Thursday. Hopefully we get it. Merv, thank you very much for joining me.
No, you're welcome. Good to be here.
Good as always. Mike, tactically, our tactician master, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed it very much.
Big shout out to Dave Chance, to Karen, to Steve Wells, to Brian Peterson, Gab Ty, all of you guys, Sean Egan that have joined us tonight. Sorry, I can't shout all of you guys out, but I'd probably take about 4 minutes, and I think we're at the end of today's podcast. But thank you very much for joining us for this virtual pub, the Gunnerstown virtual pub. We hope you can join us for the Slavia Prague game. Hopefully we're talking about positive things. Hopefully we're talking about a next game against dare we say it, Unai Emery's Villarreal. But on behalf of all of the guys from the Gunnerstown Pubcast, it's been great to have you along. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we will see you next time on the Gunnerstown Pubcast. Laters, peeps.